Dawn to Dawn is finally over after a really good final episode and a first season. But here is the question. Did Dawn to Dawn Season 1 live up to the immense hype? In this episode, the Dum-da-Dums head to Gigi's hometown to suss out the spirit cursing his home and family. But in turn, they find something even deadlier. Old creepy perverts trying to peeve on Momo, not before the big reveal of Gigi's home containing a secret sealed off room. What could it be? Did the final episode of Dawn to Dawn deliver? Is this series any good at all? We're gonna break it all down and much more, so let's get into it. Guys, I challenge you to the biggest challenge yet. I challenge you to get this video to 2,000 likes and 50 subscribers. If we begin our episode with a plea. They try to convince Seiko to allow the anatomically correct mannequin to stay in her house. And honestly, if I were Seiko, I would wonder why every single person my granddaughter makes friends with is either an alien, a spirit, or in this case, a freaking object. So Seiko is like, hey, Okaroon, let them stay at your house, which is true. And speaking of, where are Okaroon's parents? Like, we have not seen them once in the show, nor have we really seen any parents in the show. I mean, we have Seiko, but she is the only one, and even then, we don't see her daughter, which is Momo's mother, who is not there. So there has got to be some sort of reason, at least in this season, parents were not shown. And if I had to surmise a guess, because even as a manga reader, I don't know either, is that Tatsu maybe is saving them for something? I don't know. It's just so peculiar, isn't it? I also love how the kids dressed Hana up in clearly Momo's clothing and a beanie with a nice little shirt. Just goes to show how much Momo is into fashion, along with, checks notes, every single character in this show. Seriously, every single one of them has an insane fashion sense. I want to know how to achieve this. Give me some tips in the comments below, guys. I run 5 YouTube channels. I'm way behind on this fashion stuff. So now begins the begging game. The kids are trying their hardest to convince Seiko to let her stay. And here we learn that Taro will continue to be a mannequin in school, but will slip out at night to go and meet Hana. So Seiko, being old and batty with hips like fine granular matter, and I'm not even kidding, tells Hana that she is in heat and to not bother the neighbors. Bro, legit, no lie. I hate to admit this, but I spit out some of my coffee when I heard that. It was a mess. I couldn't even believe it for a moment, but then I remembered, oh yeah, this is Dawn to Dawn where every character has a foul mouth, so no worries though. Seiko lets her stay because of it. I guess she's sympathetic or something. Oh yeah, and it also turns out that Taro's nut wasn't Okaroon's nut, but Taro's nut, or rather just an ornament that looked like a nut. False alarm, people, false alarm. Move along, nothing to see here. So they decide to have dinner, but I loved when Gigi was trying to tickle Turbo Granny and she just drop kicks him and claws his face. I mean, seriously, Gigi is the biggest goober in the show, and I love him. He's great. So this next part was super interesting, mostly because with last week's video, you guys pointed out that maybe Okaroon is actually jealous, and I didn't exactly miss the point, but my conclusion was missing something. Mainly that Okaroon is jealous, and yeah, with this scene, yeah, I can totally see this. You guys were right. Okaroon sees Gigi and Momo being playful, how he makes her laugh, is always very close with her, and even touches her. I mean, I think this would drive any husband or wife wild seeing your significant other like that, let alone when you add awkward teenage years into the mix. It just gets very confusing very fast. So being awkward, he awkwardly juts into the middle of the two, gets the dirt off Momo's hair, and tells her that he is not going to give up and fight. Now, this is the Okaroon I think we all love to see. While I think he is overreacting, Gigi so far doesn't seem to like Momo at all, so it's a little bit of a misunderstanding, at least at first it is, not until later in the episode, but it is one that is allowing Okaroon to face these problems, and instead of giving up or going back to being a recluse, he's choosing to face them head on. It's very cute, and it's endearing towards his character, and makes him easy to cheer for in these moments because of just how awkward and innocent he is. I'm just like every time I talk about Dawn to Dawn, I'm sure we've all been here before, right? But since these are the Dum-da-Dums, Okaroon and Gigi start to sing together while dancing around Momo like she is some sort of effigy to the gods? What the hell was this? But Seiko puts a stop to it as they're, quote, kicking up dust. Well, It seems Momo is going to be staying over at Gigi's house, and Okarun is tagging along too, since she'd feel uneasy without him. It's just so wild that Okarun has yet to realize he's pretty much got Momo in the bag and vice versa, but the dude is so dense that, well, yeah, you can kind of forgive it because it's his charm, so what can you do? Now, here is the crazy part and the deserved part. Okarun's bullies are trying to score some chicks when they see Taro running at them, freaking them out. Now, listen, I have no sympathy for bullies. They totally deserved it all for all they've done. However, Taro is literally isekai, guys. Like, why does anime always constantly do this? Why is the truck this thing that anime has co-opted into their bag of tricks? I don't get it. I like it, but I don't get it. Also, let's take bets. Which world would Taro go to? Konosuba, Matensei, or ReZero? Anyways, at 4 a.m. Taro finally shows up, while Momo is practically falling asleep standing up. It has this, I don't know, is this an old lady face? It's crazy, but if you think about it, Momo was shown to look older before Seiko was, the actual granny. But all's well that ends well, because the two are reunited. Maybe with a little bit of extra branches and cans, but reunited, and so they start making out. This anime's crazy, yo. This also ticks off Momo because, you know, gross. And making it worse, she has to do this every day now. However, Gigi was not having a good night, as he was kept up, cursed by the evil spirit. And so is Okarun, because he is jealous, something fierce. On the train to Gigi's house, they play some old maid, and Okarun, he is getting outclassed, but he's just too focused on Gigi and Momo's interactions. This is when it clicked for me. Okarun wants to be in Gigi's position. He is the one who wants to be close with Momo and joke and play around with her, and Gigi is getting in the way of that. Or maybe it is the dynamic he wishes he had with her, and he is just disgusted with himself and his shortcomings. Through them, he sees, I think, his own weaknesses and uselessness. There being something he wants to be, but he cannot be that. So there is a lot of this growing tension and frustration with Okarun in this arc, and I do not blame him. So all he can do is focus on the task at hand, getting his nut back. But Momo then startles Okarun when she asks what's up with him, and he blurts out, "My nut!" Which cracks the both of them up, thinking there is some dirty joke craze. Now imagine that. There's just eventually something where it's just like it's okay to make dirty jokes in public. That would be, you know what? We need to get on that. That'd be pretty funny. But this is where we get one of the most infamous manga panels brought to life. Ugh. Science Saru had to absolutely nail this one because it is such a good meme and so beloved by everyone in the Dawn to Dawn community. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it was done very, very well in this anime. Is it better than the manga though? I don't know. What do you guys think? So enough of the blabbering. Okarun delivered on his promise, tells them about the Tsuchinoko monster, and while he realizes that blurting that out wasn't very manly of him, he has one task he needs to achieve. He's gotta dominate Momo's attention. But the strangest thing happens. Instead of dominating her attention, he, well, dominates Gigi's attention. And in an unexpected but welcome twist, Okarun's tales of cryptids enrapture Gigi, and they bond as Okarun gets lost in talking with him and even comes to enjoy conversing with him. And so Gigi asks him, can he be counted as a friend since he is a friend of Momo's as well? Now, I think this is a life lesson Okarun has just learned, that despite people's perceived intentions, I mean, you just don't know what their intentions are. Okarun judged Gigi, I think, somewhat in the wrong manner and saw him as a threat to his relationship with Momo, which, as the episode later says, is sort of a thing, but in reality, I think this dude is just a dumbass who is friends with Momo, and that in of itself is a miracle, as Gigi represents a pretty awful time in Momo's life. And I think Okarun realizes just why Momo was so quick to forgive Gigi as he was. Gigi, he's just so likable. The traits which at first seem annoying for him are actually just him being so genuine. It's suspicious. Because in life, when you see people who are genuine to themselves, I mean, you think they're kind of weird, right? Take me as an example. I get called weird literally every day in my comments. Yeah, those comments do hurt me a lot sometimes, and people can be rude, but I am weird because I am just trying to be a genuine content creator. I may say stupid crap or make jokes that don't land, but me being genuine like this, it makes me a little bit of an oddity. Same for Gigi, I guess. He's odd and weird, and while I am nowhere near as popular as Gigi, I think Okarun realized here that Gigi is authentic. Maybe in a weird way, but he is true to himself, and I think that's beautiful and a good lesson to take from this piece of art. But they arrive at Gigi's hometown, where they see the Manju Hot Springs, and we learned a bit of Gigi lore here. His father studies volcanoes at a university nearby. Being curious, they ask about an eruption, and they say that the last was about 200 years ago but has remained dormant. So they finally arrive at Gigi's house, which is pretty cozy looking, honestly. I'd love to live in a house like this, but I'm a YouTuber though, so I'll have to settle for Gigi's shack and Chainsaw Man. But upon arriving, we see behind them the village people, looking all funky and odd, and odd indeed, because they sort of look like Serpo, kinda? Though, who am I kidding? It's probably nothing. Okay, so it's probably obviously the Serpo, right? But in the house, they chill out, watch some TV. Gigi massages Momo's shoulders, which kind of freaks out Okarun a little bit, but it's all good because they think the spirit is hiding, and because of that, Momo thinks they just got this all in the bag. All they gotta do is the same thing they've done before. Just lure it out and voila! They got an exercise spirit. So while Momo thinks this will be an easy ride, I think this will eventually be proven wrong, only because this is Dawn to Dawn and we know some freaky shit is about to occur at like every point. So while they wait for nighttime to befall them, Momo decides she wants to go to the hot springs, and so begins the infamous hot spring episode. Now, this is actually a beloved or infamous trope depending on who you are, but as we know, Dawn to Dawn is unlike anything in anime or manga, so let's see how they actually do this. But while she does that, Okarun and Gigi decide to play some football. And well, the friendly game quickly turns into them listing off which parts of Momo they love the most. I wish I was joking. Okarun tries to not admit his feelings for her, while also trying to say that he does have feelings for her. And even Gigi, he chimes in how much he loves numerous parts of Momo's body. But Gigi admits his fatal flaw. Because they're lifelong friends, that means he wins. And sadly, that's just not how it works, man. Gigi, anime dictates you will lose 10 out of 10 times just because you are a friend, especially a childhood friend. And in this case, kind of a childhood bully. I'm not sure how this works, but I don't think the math works out in his favor. Honestly, though, I am somewhat confused because for the most part, it didn't seem like Gigi liked Momo in that way, but this scene suggests he may have some feelings he's harboring. If I were to hazard a guess, maybe this is Gigi just being his overly lovey-dovey self. Who knows, honestly? I was even surprised when Gigi tried to choke out Okarun to get him to admit he lost. And honestly, seriously though, does Gigi really love Momo in the same way that Okarun does? I don't know. But while they are fighting, something peculiar is afoot. From the shadows, the townsfolk are watching Momo bathe. But quickly, back to the idiots though, they notice something. There is an extra room in Gigi's house that they never noticed before, not even Gigi. So, channeling the spirit of Triple H, Gigi breaks through the wall with a sledgehammer to find nothing but a room covered with talisman. Momo is dealing with her own issues as well as a bunch of old dudes come into the mixed bath, clearly being creepy by calling Momo a pretty little thing, and eventually they allude to themselves being gators who attack women in the nude. Oh god. Are we doing this again? Guys, I don't need to say this, but this was a pretty wild conclusion to Season 1 of Dawn to Dawn. But we won't be waiting too long, as Dawn to Dawn Season 2/Core 2 is set to air in summer 2025.